Good afternoon to you. Today we will continue with the Constitution. In the last class, we have seen the judiciary and we have completed. In fact, we have seen how the appointment of judges are made and how the judges are removed and what are the jurisdiction and powers of the Supreme Court, especially with reference to those which are unique in our Constitution and which do not appear in other constitutions. Today we will see center-state relations. While the core of federalism is seen in Indian polity, there are some features which are unfederal, which are seen to be necessary in the national security, integration and development, particularly in the light of experience of partition. Our Constitution is tilted towards unitary features because our units are not coming together, instead holding together. The units did not join the union voluntarily. They have been taken and they have not surrendered their rights. In fact, we have taken all the rights and redivided. Though both the union and the states are the creation of the Constitution, there are certain unfederal features in our Constitution. Before going into the center-state relations, we should know what are the special features of unfederal nature in our Constitution. Number one, the states can be created and abolished without their consent. I have already told you, Article 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Secondly, residuary powers are with the union government. Number 2. Number 3, there is no dual citizenship. We enjoy only single citizenship. Number 4, there is a unified system of audit which is under the control of the union. Number 5, there is a unified and integrated judiciary which is again under the control of the union. Number 7, elections are held for assemblies under the authority of the Election Commission which is appointed by the union government. Number 8, the role of governor is always pro-center. Number 9, Article 356, President rule is a threat to the existence of democratically elected government. Number 9, there is an imbalance in the vacancy, that is in the Rajya Sabha nomination. 12 members are nominated, which you cannot expect from a House of States, never, not even Senate. And second, and there is always the union list consists of 100 subjects, whereas the state list consists of only 61, tilt towards the union. So these are all unfederal features of Indian Constitution. Nevertheless, because of the compulsion, historical compulsion, we have to adopt a system where the unitary features are more. Now, center-state relations can be seen under 3 segments. Number 1, administrative relations. Number 2, legislative relations. Number 3, financial relations. Administrative relations of the state extends to the subjects in the state list. In other words, the executive power of the state will extend to all matters included in the state list in the 7th schedule. Similarly, the executive powers of the union will extend with reference to all matters on which union parliament is competent to make law. And there is a concurrent list which you can see, you cannot see any other federation. And the concurrent subjects, both union parliament and state legislatures are competent to make law. If there is a clash between a union law and the state law, the union law will prevail over the state law. And this is the position, background. Now, specifically with reference to administrative relations between the union and the states, let us analyze this under three broad heads. Number one is directions by the union to the state. Number two is all India services. Number three is sanction of grants and aid. Of course, this we will see in the financial relations also. Now, the idea of giving direction to the states is basically repugnant to the federal system, because both the states and the union derive powers from the constitution. Neither the state is subordinate to the union nor the union is subordinate to the states. Both are subordinate to the constitution, because there is a specific area. There is a separation of powers, like that there is a division of powers. And one is not supposed to usurp the jurisdiction of the other. That is the intention of the constitution. Nevertheless, the peculiar conditions and circumstances of the country, which I have already explained, at the time of formation of federation, pointed out the need for such directions being included in the constitution itself, because in the constitution itself it is clearly given, the domination of union over the state has been clearly spelled out in the constitution. When we speak of administrative relations of the state and the center, we should analyze Article 355, Article 256, Article 257, Article 365, Article 356. All these articles are linked and one leads to the another. Remember, again I repeat, Article 355, Article 256, Article 257, Article 365 and Article 356. Now, the overall administrative relations are dealt with from Article 256 to Article 263 in Part 9 of the Constitution. How the states are controlled, monitored by the union are reflected in the articles which I mentioned first, that is 355, 256, 257, 365 and 356. I will analyze the article one by one. When you understand each article, you will yourself agree that the control of union over the state is immense. Immense. The administrative relations are tilted towards the union. You will yourself will agree. Let us see one by one. As you know, Article 355 enjoins upon the union to protect the states against external aggression and internal disturbances. And also, the union is mandated to ensure that the government of the state is run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Very crisp, clear. Crystal clear and crisp. Article 355 mandates the union government to protect the states against external aggression and internal disturbances, and also to ensure that the state government is run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. You should know that these provisions give the authority, jurisdiction and powers to the union to keep a watch on the states and act in case of need by sending paramilitary forces. See, there is a problem in Kerala, there is a problem in West Bengal, there is a problem in Bihar, there is a problem in Maharashtra. If this article is not there, center can keep quiet. They have got their own, powers. They have got their own responsibility, and they are accountable to the people of the state. They can keep quiet, leave the state alone. No. Article 355 mandates the union to ensure that the state is run in accordance with the provisions of the constitution, and also mandated to protect the states from external aggression and internal disturbances. This is the responsibility. The onus lies on the union. Ultimate responsibility to ensure peace and tranquility in the state lies only with the union. Remember, this is the first article which lays foundation of the administrative relations between the union and the state. Article 355, which is of course an emergency provision, but it is applicable for all circumstances. If there is a problem in West Bengal, we are sending CRPF, we are sending BSF. And if there is a COVID-19, we send all the doctors, we send team, we ensure, we give instruction. Why? Because we are responsible. Union is responsible. It is a mandate of the constitution. Mandate of the constitution means mandate of the people. We, the people of India, solemnly affirm, give this constitution unto ourselves. This is our constitution. We have given the mandate, and the constitution expects the union to act, to watch and act. So, this is the first article which lays a foundation to the center-state relations. Now, second, Article 256. As you know, the executive powers of the state extend to the matters on which state legislature is competent to make law. Similarly, the executive powers of the union extends to matters on which union parliament is competent to make law. And the concurrent subjects always belong to the union and the state. The first preference is state. Unless the union has already made a law, then in that case, the union law will provide. That is, the executive powers with regard to concurrent subject rest with the states, except where such powers are vested with the union, either by the constitution or by the law made by the parliament. Now, while this is the normal position, Article 256 imposes an obligation upon the state and the union. Remember, 355 one obligation, 256 another obligation, both on the state and the union. What is the obligation? Article 256 says that the executive powers of the state shall be so exercised as to ensure compliance with the laws made by the parliament and also any existing law which apply to that state. Remember, very important provision. That is, the executive powers of the state shall be so exercised as to ensure compliance with the laws made by the parliament. Whatever law is made by the parliament, the executive power of the state should extend in compliance. It is the duty of the state to comply with the provisions of the laws made by the parliament. Whether it is CAA, you agree or not. Whether it is 103rd Amendment Act, you agree or not. You have to comply with the provisions of the law made by the parliament. It is mandatory. It is mandatory. It also says this is an obligation on the state. Now coming to union, it imposes an obligation on the union. What is that? It also says that the executive powers of the union shall extend giving such directions to the state as may be necessary for this purpose by the union. So, to ensure compliance of the laws made by the parliament, the union government can issue directions to ensure compliance of the laws made by the parliament. So, specific direction can be given by the union. Just imagine for 2 seconds that the constitution has no provision to this effect. Then, no law made by the parliament, whether it is Citizenship Act of 2020 or 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 2019, would be enforced or implemented in any state. So, this article mandates the state to implement the parliamentary law. Remember, very important. Just to remove this article, no state will implement your laws. Parliamentary law will not be, whether it is anti-defection law, whether it is, 15% the Council of Ministers or nothing. Nobody will implement. This is the core of the center-state relations. Number 256. Then comes 257. 355, 256, 257. 257 reassures what is said in 256. What is the reassurance? The executive power of the state shall be so exercised in such a way as not to impede or prejudice the exercise of the executive powers of the union in the state. Another direction to the state. What is the direction? That is, the executive power of the state should be so exercised in such a way as not to impede, not to prohibit, not to interfere, not to prejudice the exercise of the executive powers of the union in the state. Not only that, you see, for this purpose, the union government can give directions to the state with reference to exercise of their powers, specifically with reference to certain items. That is, the union government can issue directions, specific direction in certain matters. What are the matters? Number 1, construction and maintenance of means of communication which are declared as national importance or military importance. Number 1. Number 2, protection of railways property. Number 3, imparting instructions in mother tongue to in the primary education to the children of linguistic minorities. Number 4, implementation of the schemes relating to scheduled tribe. In these 4 cases, the central government can issue direction to the state to ensure implementation. The above provision has been provided, remember, all the 3, 355, 256, 257. These 3 provisions have been provided with teeth. Teeth in the sense, the penal provision has been provided through Article 365. Read again, I repeat. 355, 256, 257. Now we are coming to 365. What does Article 365 says? When any state government has failed to comply with or give effect to any directions given in exercise of the executive powers of the union under the provisions of the Constitution, it shall be lawful for the President to hold that a situation has arisen in which the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Very simple. If any direction has been given in pursuance of Articles 257 or 256, and if that direction has not been followed by the state government, then it is lawful for the President to conclude that the state government is not carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Then just now read Article 356. Kindly read Article 356, where the governor of the state, where the President of India is satisfied on the basis of the report of the governor or otherwise that a situation is arisen in which the state administration is not run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, the President rule can be imposed. Again I repeat, where the President of India is satisfied on the basis of the report of the governor or otherwise that a situation has arisen in the state, that the state administration is not run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, the President will impose what is popularly known as President rule, what is technically known as constitutional emergency, what is also known as state emergency under Article 356, under which President of India takes over the entire administration of the state. This is how the first foundation, right from the beginning, 355, 256, 257, 365, 356. Now tell me whether any state government has the guts to deviate from the provisions of the Constitution, from the directions of the central government. No state. If at all, they for public consumption, anybody can say anything. They will say, no, I will not implement the CAA. We will not implement the CEWS. We will not implement this law. This is contrary to the rule of law. This is contrary to the basic structure. All these things. But remember, if you do not implement, and the central government gives a direction in writing, and if you do not follow the direction, it is lawful for the President of India to hold that the state administration is not run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. That's all. Finish. So, administrative relations, of course, under this many articles are there. I have chosen only these articles, 355, 256, 257, 365 and 356. This is the foundation of administrative relations. With this, we will end the class. We will continue with the administrative relations in the next class. Thank you very much. Thank you.